I'm Brad Kofoed. This is The Real Signal. I'm extremely excited to welcome a former colleague and friend, Dane Voboril. He is the Director of Delivery Commerce Operations with Uber. And before we get started, just a brief explanation of The Real Signal. Mark Benioff once said that the business of business is improving the state of the world. This is an attempt to help each other with hard-hitting, quick information that we found useful, whether you use your work to support other areas of meaning in your life, or whether your work is a source of meaning and purpose in your life. The idea is that we can help each other and get better. Everything I've learned, I've either learned from my mistakes or from other people. So thank you, Dane, for spending some time with me today and sharing some of your valuable insights in the course of your career. Before we get started, can you just briefly explain your role at Uber, what that title encompasses?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brad, for having me, and yeah, excited to dig in. So I work on the Uber Eats side of the business, which is the food delivery side, not the taxi side. And I help support the commercial organization selling into the merchants or the restaurants that are on the Uber Eats platform.
Okay.
And it's a traditional revenue or commercial operations role that I've been doing for the last 20 years of my career.
Excellent. Well, now we're going to get into the real insights, no BS, courage required. So the first question I have for you, Dane, and this is a professional insight. For somebody that is wanting to make a change, wants to make an impact in their career or their life tomorrow, what is something you can share that you've learned firsthand for somebody else?
I've had a couple learnings throughout my career, so yeah, happy to share. One thing that, I was thinking about when I was reflecting on this question is just, the people in my life and the people that I trust. And I was fortunate to have a former boss who really became a mentor of mine. And that really changed everything for me. I had actually walked into his office and told him that I wasn't unhappy, but I was ready for a new challenge, and I had accepted another position and fully expected to leave. And, he didn't necessarily try to convince me to stay, but he listened to what was going on, and he understood my motivations even better than I expected. And instead of solving the symptom, he really solved the underlying problem. And, we had built enough trust over the years that he realized, hey, you need a new challenge. And so I was fortunate to be in a position to take a role in our European headquarters, and I was at the time living in the US. And 10 years later, I'm still here, have my family in Europe and everything. And the real lesson here is that, great mentors, they don't just give advice, they see potential in yourself. And instead of just chasing the next title or whatever, sometimes the relationships will create opportunities that you never thought were possible. And so, yeah, really excited with that turning point in my life, being born and raised in the US and my initial career there. And then now 10 years later, still in Europe, and very excited move just by listening to my mentor.
So the takeaway was the relationship?
Yeah. I mean, the trust, right? The trust that we had built over the years and the relationship that we had. And, he had the trust to find something for me that provided that challenge that I was looking for.
So this can be valuable whether you're in your position or in the position of being that mentor.
Exactly. And, I've been trying to give back as well, being a mentor for others throughout my career as well. Because, the advantage of hindsight and the experience, allows you to see things a bit differently. And, sometimes the role is in the organization and sometimes it's not. I've worked with other people on my team, finding them roles outside of the organization that I was in, because sometimes that's the best option. And in this particular case, the best option was staying at the company, just moving. But sometimes it leads to different things.
Awesome. So the second question is a sort of a human insight. What is a habit, a practice, a mental shift, both personally or in work, that you've applied that's made you a better person, better better, more productive employee?
Yeah, I'd say it's a mindset shift. In the early part of my career, I really did work a lot. I was working long hours, and I've always been a part of very high growth, high change organizations where there's always something going on. It's a challenge. I always told myself I just need to get through the next 2 weeks, and I realized that this responsiveness and identity being tied to kind of this hustle mentality and everything. It's helpful. It helps you learn a lot. It helps you get a lot done. It helps you rise in certain organizations. The challenge is an organization is going to take as much as they can from you, and that's their role. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But you've got to prioritize. You've got to say no. You've got to figure out how to delegate. You've got to figure out when is good enough, and you also, as you grow in an organization, your behavior becomes, what your team sees, and they start doing it as well. And so what I realized is that, I needed to set my own boundaries. The organization is not going to do that. I still work hard, but I'm just smarter about how I work and when I work, and also how I utilize the team around me. And I think it's really led to better decisions, better energy, how I show up, better relationships, and also just becoming more consistent.
When you made that shift, what did you actually do practically to make that change? Was it just a matter of your calendar, or was it something more complex?
The calendar is definitely a part of it, learning kind of when to be responsive. When I need to really have high thought, the morning time is when I do that. And then I go through my day with meetings and things like that. There's a shift in kind of how I prioritize my own day, and then also the types of things that I was doing throughout the day.
So block time, morning creative, daytime is the day-to-day work, and then you shut down in the evening for other things.
The big shift was actually, like, instead of working till 11, the next week I just worked till 10, and slowly but surely I worked my way down in the evening to some days I actually, when my meetings were done, I actually logged off, instead of just kept going.
Got it.
Yeah, it's small things. It doesn't have to be this big, huge thing. Just look for small shifts, and that will go a long way, and small shifts add up over time.
Got it. Thank you. Third, what is an accomplishment that you are most proud of over the course of the last few years, whether it's personal or in your career?
Yeah. To me, it's how I've become very predictable and dependable, both at work and home. I'm very proud of that. And, it's been interesting. I've taken a lot of personality quizzes or tests or profiles. There's a lot of different ones out there. And what's been interesting is the results have been very consistent. And it turns out that, who I show up at home and at work, it's consistent. My colleagues and my family know who's going to show up every day. They know my personality, my values. They can count on me. Work, I try to be a calming force. Very red, fiery sometimes, very organized. But at the same time, because of that, I'm also not thrown off by stresses or by uncertainty and things like that. Because especially this point in my career, I've seen a lot. Whether it's a big acquisition, a big reorg, a big project coming, even if that project isn't going well. And so I think that character trait has really become something I'm proud of. And at home too, it's similar. I like to bike, I like to ski, I like to spend time with my family doing these physical activities. And so that consistency and how I show up and that dependability, my kids love, my wife appreciates, and I'm really proud of that and who I've become. Because it's led to bigger impact, both at work and at home. I
want to drill down on that, because that's a pretty profound thing that you just talked about, being able to show up with consistency in both realms of your life. You referred to some personality tests, and can you just drill down just for a second on that process? How did you figure out, what do I need to do to become that consistent force in both sides of my life?
I don't think it's something that it was a flip of the switch overnight. It was something that really, I think over the last few years has been happening. So number one, at work, especially joining Uber, there's been a couple of different personality tests. There's the insights profile. Obviously, I've done the Myers-Briggs and some other ones as well. And those, it's not just about the test, but it's learning, what do they say? What is it saying? During that reflection, I was like, oh, wow, like this has been very consistent. And it really resonated with me. I wasn't surprised. And when I share the results with my team or even at home, it was like, yeah, that's definitely you. That definitely sounds like you. And I started to lean into it. I started to realize that this is who I am, and this is, in some way who I want to be as well. And so I've also learned about what limitations does my personality have. Sometimes, right, it shows up in a negative way where, I might rub people the wrong way. And so I had to adjust a bit, because you can't just, interact the same way with other people who might have different personality traits. So you've got to start to really learn who you are, who your team is or your peer group, and how to adjust. And the same thing, like I've even had my wife tell me, you can't talk to me like one of your teammates, right? Like you can't just bring work home and how that happens. So I've had to adjust, how I show up for my kids and my wife at home as well. And yeah, it's an evolution, and I've been working hard at it, and I've been working hard at home as well, and doing therapy sessions and things, because yeah, life is hard, and that's okay. It's okay for it to be hard. And yeah, that mindset shift has really helped me evolve. I'm still working through it. It's a process. I don't feel like it's done, but certainly making good progress.
That's a great example of being on the court. I appreciate that courage and sharing that.
Absolutely.
The next one is a little lighter. Over the course of the last year, what has been the source of the most genuine fun in either personal or work life?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you ask this question, it was like, oh boy, I'm going to be cliche. I am going to say AI, and it genuinely is something that has completely shifted my life in the last year, and it's been fun. It truly has. Learning AI, especially, I'm at the point in my career, I'm in a leadership position, executive function, and how does AI work into that? And making sure I understand the basics of AI. I go to networking events in Amsterdam. Shout out to AI on the Amstel, which has been really helpful for me to learn a bit about the more technical bits, even though I'm not technical at all. I just want to have a better appreciation. So that's been fun, because I've been able to interact with people in real life, learning alongside them what AI is capable of. At work, we've been doing a ton. Uber's been amazing in terms of the use of AI in its product, but also they've been really supportive of allowing people to learn AI as a part of their job. So whether it's Google Gemini, Claude Code, and others, I started with a simple presentation generator. I obviously work in a lot of slide presentations. So I built a tool for that. But then recently I built an executive briefing tool. So it pulls information from my email, my calendar, Slack, Google Drive, because I have 10 to 15 meetings every day. And it's a lot of context switching. It's a lot of preparation. And I created specialized AI agents to help me prepare for our monthly business reviews, interview preparation. Another fun thing we just did related to AI, I hosted an AI hackathon for my team. I even hacked together an app to support the hackathon. So, AI everywhere. And then, again, on the personal front, I've been using ChatGPT and Lovable to do some fun things at home. So I have a 6 and 8-year-old kids. My 8-year-old daughter is practicing multiplication tables and math word problems and things like that. So I actually built her an app from scratch to help practice her multiplication tables. I saw my wife writing out the tables for her to practice at home. I was like, I could build an app for that. Yeah, worked actually with my daughter. So I showed her kind of the prompt engineering and things like that. And we kind of built it together, and now we've been adding more and more modules as she's been doing more stuff at school. So now we have a reading comprehension one, math word problem component. Yeah, seeing the value that AI can create in both my personal and professional life has been, it's been really fun. It's been cool.
Well, that's awesome. I love it. Listen, we're on the home stretch here. This question is the question that was asked by my last guest. His name is Ken Madsen from M2 Advisory. They do content workflow advisory. And his question may tie into some things you've already mentioned. It is what perceptual change has occurred for you, big picture, over the course of the last 5 years? As the whole world has changed, how has your perception on things shifted?
Yeah, I think my perception has shifted. A lot more of the world is becoming tech driven. There's more automations, there's more tech everywhere. But I think more than ever, relationships matter even more. And I've really been trying to lean into that. People aren't going anywhere, right? Figuring out where things are going, and is AI going to replace people, and et cetera, et cetera. I think through that, the relationships, both again at work and at home, really matter. It takes a lot of work to foster those relationships, whether it's your friends, your friend group, that you like to go golfing with or go on a ski trip with, your family, your kids. All of that takes work, just like it takes work at your job to build relationships with the people within your company.
Interesting.
People that are outside your company. I think that's been a big perception shift. It's not just your technical ability. I think for some, obviously for some that is everything. But for people like us who rely on relationships, that's more important than ever.
It's almost contrary to what you would expect with this tech influence that's taken over. It's had this almost converse impact in terms of the importance of the personal attendance to relationship.
I definitely think so. And I know it's super cliche and people are going to kind of, laugh at it or whatever, but yeah, it's cliche for a reason. But I've been leaning into it, and obviously, right, you still need to understand the tech of what's going on and the technical aspects and the business and how it operates and everything. But yeah, as I've been going up in my career, it's becoming more and more about the relationships. And again, to your point, it ties back to some of the things I said earlier in terms of how I show up and how I perceive myself and how people perceive me.
I must be out of sync because I didn't know that it was cliche, so I appreciate it. Okay, well, Dane, this is the last question, and it's your chance to pass on the challenge. What question would you ask, or you would like me to ask, a subsequent guest?
Yeah, so it's a question I've been asking myself recently, which is, are you doing the work that you genuinely love? Or are you just doing it because it earns a paycheck? It's again, maybe this one truly is cliche, but if money were no longer a factor, would you still be doing what you are today? And it really reveals your motivations and what's important to you. And I think it's a good thought-provoking question.
Love it. Well, listen, Dane, thank you for your time. Awesome responses and for sharing, and I think this will go a long way to the mission of the show in terms of sharing insights. And I wish you the best, and thank you. I'll let you know when we ask the next guest your question.
I'll be looking out for the response. I love it, and yeah, thanks for having me, and all the best.
Okay, this has been The Real Signal with Brad Kofoed and special guest Dane Voboril.